Also joining the conversation and the hot topics all morning long this morning is a WatchDog on Wall Street, a radio show host and the president of Markowski Investments. Chris Markowski is with us. Chris Markowski, jump in here. Tell us what's priced into the market already. Do you want to be adding to your portfolio here in stocks, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. Again, this is where the real money is made in the markets, is when obviously they back off to some degree. And I look at things differently when it comes to even these higher rates. For my clients, I take a look at their cash positions, and I'm actually getting some rate of return, where the Federal Reserve basically took a tool out of my toolbox for years. A lot of this cash position in my clients' portfolios are actually getting some sort of yield. Not to mention the fact this is going to help pension funds around the country rebuild as well. They have to keep a certain amount of money in cash and cash equivalents where they're getting a return right now. So again, you can take a look at periods of time when rates were this high. Maria, we can go back to the 1990s, back when our careers started. Rates were much higher back then, and the markets did quite well.
Scott, what about that? How do you want to allocate capital here?
I agree. We agree with Chris.
He's MIA on paternity leave in the biggest supply chain crisis we've had, followed by also being MIA in the train derailment, which is causing people to be afraid for their lives.
Oh, it's the politics. Let's divert. I remember they did this with George Bush back when he went to the grocery store, and it made him look like he didn't understand how a checkout line would work. In regards to this train derailment, what I find fascinating, and this is the question that I have, there's over 1,000 train derailments a year in this country. 400 are caused by track defects. 500 to 600 are caused by human error. Now, you want to solve this problem, what we need to do is we have to start building pipelines, and we have to start getting a lot of these hazardous materials off the train tracks. Not to mention the fact, explain to me how a 19th century technology is failing so much. As I said, I made it halfway through. I had to get up early for you this morning, Maria, so I had a typical time seeing the entire thing. But I'm glad to see the comedians are actually leading the way. The pendulum has to swing back. We've gone so far into this woke direction, and you've got guys like Rock and Chappelle and Maniscalco and all these great comedians out there that are pushing back against this. And again, allowing us to have fun with one another and to laugh and to make fun and not to take ourselves so seriously. And Chris Rock did a great job. I got halfway through. I got to watch the other half.
Chris Markowski, jump in here.
My question is this: we take a look at all the financial fraud that happens over the course of the year, and last year was a record year, and that's the SEC's job, is to go over this. What type of budget are we going to be talking about here? How much are we going to have to spend to now? We can't even handle what we're dealing with right now, and then we're going to add crypto on top of that. I'm almost at the point where it gets buyer beware at some point in time. It's that, you're going to decide you want to get into this area of the market. Well, guess what? Well, all the more power to you, but good luck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the way to think about it is crypto is really not necessarily going to go anywhere, and crypto is not going to be banned. There's a sufficient amount of institutional adoption that's come into place, with institutions like BlackRock to BNY Mellon recently. And so I think, to your point, yes, there is going to be a concerted investment that needs to go in this space to actually set up the clean regulatory environment and what that framework looks like. But on the flip side, if we don't actually put that investment in today, we're just going to see ourselves losing out on the next wave of innovation that's effectively going to just move offshore.
One of the beauties about Eric Adams during the election, his election, was that he's a former police officer.
That's right.
And people thought, well, look, he's going to back the blue. Now, Chris, New York City officers are telling businesses, customers should remove masks before entering the store because masks are making it harder to detect thieves on surveillance video. Makes sense.
Yeah. Remember where we couldn't wear sunglasses in banks or anything like that? Now, yeah, I agree, especially in high-end stores. I would leave it up to the store owner to say, hey, listen, I don't want this here in my store. You got to take your mask off if you want to go in. To go on what Lee's point is in regards to what's happening around the country and Adams, we had a great piece today in the New York Post talking about Ray Tierney, who's my district attorney out in Suffolk County, banging the drum and trying to go to Albany and say, hey, listen, you got to do away with these bail reform laws here. They're letting drug dealers back on the streets. You could be dealing fentanyl, which is killing people left, right, and all over the place. They're letting them out after they sell the drug and they're caught. How do you run a country that way? How do you prevent crime that way? We freaked out during 9/11 when anthrax was going around, and rightfully so, but this is killing over 100,000 people a year, and you're letting the dealers go.
Chris, I've got in my hands here the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic members, to all the members of the Select Committee. And they write through how Fauci, Collins, and at least 11 other scientists convened a conference call on February 1st, 2020. And on that conference call, they were first warned that COVID-19 may have leaked from a lab in Wuhan, and that it could have been engineered, okay, in that lab, engineered by China. And weeks pass, and suddenly the whole story changes because Fauci commissions a new study to water that down. And this is all coming out in this subcommittee hearing. Your thoughts?
Well, it was 8 weeks later. I think it was April 17th, if I'm not mistaken. Fauci standing next to Donald Trump up there when they were doing the various different press conferences. And he basically presented this made-up, whatever they're doing, all these scientists coming together to push back against the entire idea that this came from a lab, and acted like he had nothing to do with it. Like he just, they did it, I just happened to read it, and this has nothing to do with China. Again, this is another shot at our institutions. I mean, you're talking about the issues we have with the FBI. Now we got issues with people that are in government right now that are out, consistently trying to deceive us and lie to us. And again, this is, what's going to happen? What's going to happen next? What are they going to do to Fauci?